There is that discussion tab. I encourage you to post your questions there between sessions. It's a wonderful way to engage folks from across the world. And we have members, again, from coast to coast in the United States and in Europe. It's wonderful to be supporting each other as we approach continuous improvement in transportation agencies. Our agenda today, again, after this welcome, we welcome for the very first time our friends from Sweden, the Swedish Transport Administration. We're going to be talking about applying continuous improvement in Sweden to produce change. And then it's my great pleasure to have folks from my team here at CDOT talk about Lean, a daily discipline. Wonderful folks here on our team, including quite a few of our intrepid collegiate interns. Then a very quick session, we're going to talk about a little bit about the evolution of the Transportation Lean Forum. And that's a lead-in then to the open forum where we can talk about questions, but particularly encourage you to discuss your successes. Your successes on improving something or addressing some issue might actually be somebody's current challenge. And again, in the spirit of John Maxwell, it's great to learn from others' successes. So without further ado, we're going to turn it over to our friends in Sweden.
Hello, this is Karen Vollo. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, indeed. Yes, we can.
Okay, just making sure. And I want to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're dividing up the time that we have for the presentation between myself and with Henrik from the Swedish Transportation Authority. And I am basically consultant. I work or run a company called Evolution Academy. I've written some books, and kind of an interesting thing I'll just mention here is that I got in touch with Gary when he congratulated me for being on the top 30 HR influencer list, and that's kind of what led us into coming into this forum, and then also inviting in the Swedish organization, which was an organization I've been working with now for a couple of years. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about engagement, culture, trust, things that are kind of important in any sort of organization. I do work with companies globally with this, and basically, as I mentioned, I do run a company called Evolution Academy, which is a corporate training company, and our purpose is bringing joy to the workplace. And I'll explain in terms of why that's so important. The way we see our role is basically like a bridge, taking organizations to this new way of thinking that increases trust, raises confidence, it accelerates the productivity, helps to unify the communications, and also ignite passion that exists in employees. So we actually certify people in cultural engagement as well as in talking about the neuroscience of engagement and trust. And I'll talk to you, it's a leadership training, a little bit about that as well. And the last thing I'll mention here is that we are certified and pre-approved from two of the largest HR organizations. So it all started, this whole journey, basically, when I wrote a book called Engage. And basically it was about, having helped companies and individuals going through transitions for so many years, and just discovering how many people are unhappy at work. And so we wanted to help teach people how to keep their company, or keep their employees, because that's a really important part of a successful organization. And in talking to a number of different organizations globally, we discovered that there's a formula. So I'm going to share a bit of that formula with you here in a bit. There we go. So just to kind of give you some international figures on engagement, I know it's hard to read that top, but it's basically, talking about the breakdown from engaged, disengaged, and actively disengaged employees. And this is information that's coming from Gallup. They do a state of the global workforce survey about every 4 years. There's 155 companies they survey. Millions of people go through it. US is actually doing pretty good. They've actually increased in engagement from 30% to 33% over the last 4 years, which is great. Canada has also increased. They went from 16 to 20%. European countries are going down, unfortunately. Sweden went down 2 points, and United Kingdom actually went down from 17 to 11% in the last 4 years. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a benchmark. It's not set in stone, but it's a good way because it's consistently done over, multiple years to see kind of where people are when it comes to engagement in organizations. It's not moving. There we go. Okay. So the current workforce situation is basically this Gallup survey showing that 85% of the global workforce is actually disengaged or actively disengaged. So that basically means 15% are engaged. It's costing organizations a lot in terms of lost productivity. I have some different figures here that coming from the Gallup report as well. In the US, it's up to 550 billion. And it's basically based on 3 KPIs. It's the employee turnover, it's the health and medical expenses, sick leave, as well as lost productivity. So that's how they're coming up with those figures. And we have another study there that shows that 84% of employees are actively looking to make a change, which basically means they're not 100% committed to where they are. This isn't moving very well for me. Yeah, I can't get it to go to the next slide. There we go. Okay. So what Gallup talks about as well is that engagement, they've calculated this all out, but basically it's about 1/3 of the salary for an employee. So if you've got a pretty high level of disengagement in the organization, you can just multiply it times the 1/3. Costing an organization when you have this engagement. So, I know it's kind of a bit of a buzzword now to work with engagement, but it definitely has an impact to the bottom line directly. So I want to share with you the formula that we found in writing our book, Engage. And this was looking at a number of companies internationally. There are 5 cultural keys. First one is collaboration, which basically means taking teamwork to the next level. And it's an understanding that by working together, you're working for the greater good. It helps to build trust, and it actually empowers your employees, which is really important. Second cultural key is creativity, and that's where we allow the innovation and the ideas to come from within the organization. You're helping to bring out the best of your team. And this is where we also talk a little bit about lean and that continuous improvement, and to kind of build that into the DNA of an organization. The third cultural key is connection. And what we mean by that is having a deeper emotional connection, both internally with employees as well as externally to the customers of the market. And you do that through having really well-defined values and through having a bigger purpose as to why you're doing what you're doing. The fourth cultural key is celebration. And what we mean by that is basically looking and working with pretty strategically in terms of recognition, appreciation, focusing in on what's going well. Of course, we mean have fun there. And it's also paying attention to, the small wins along the way and not just the big wins. And then the last cultural key is contribution, which what we mean by that is some sense of connecting the business. It can be in the local community, it can be environmental, as long as there's something there, because it basically helps the employees feel like they're proud to work at this organization and that it's making a difference. And especially with the millennium crowd coming in now into the workforce, they're really looking for organizations that, kind of have these cultural foundations or cultural keys. So what I've found in working with so many companies now all over the world is that, we've got these 5 cultural keys, which is really important. But if you don't have this bigger purpose as to why you're doing what you're doing, it makes it harder for this strategic engagement work to really, kind of stick in the cultural work. And even underlying that, you have to have this higher level of trust in terms of, trust to the employees, trust to the management, trust to the customers, just trust overall. So I want to share that. And one of the things that's so powerful with the neuroscience is that it actually it transcends cultures, it transcends countries, because we're all human. And when you learn the neuroscience of how conversations and interactions, the kind of impact you can have, it's like you can't unlearn this stuff. So it makes a difference. So when you're having a lot of fear in an organization, what's happening is that people are having cortisol running through their body. So you have an organization where people are trying to control the information, and there's a lot of power plays, there's a lot of uncertainty. You have people being addicted to being right, wanting to get the last word in, and you also have groupthink, which means that people are afraid to speak out over anything. When you, on the opposite end of the spectrum, when you have a high level of trust inside of an organization, You have a lot of transparency. You have really solid relationships. You have a good level of understanding. You share the successes, and you're able to tell the truth about what's going on. And basically, you have oxytocin. You're activating your prefrontal cortex, that's where oxytocin is produced, and it is your higher levels of thinking and capacity. So you actually have a higher level of productivity when you are in that level and having those high levels of trust. So in order to bring out the best in your company, it's really a matter of establishing this culture of purpose. And it basically, helps people feel like there's meaning inside of the organization. And this is becoming a new business imperative, according to Deloitte. And what we see now is that, there's a big push and a high, level of buzz or buzzword about high performance. We all want a high performance culture. But if you drill down into that, or, double click, and what does that mean? If you have a high level of trust inside of an organization, it leads to higher levels of confidence, which leads to a higher level of engagement. And that's what leads you to this high performance. So, in order to do that, you have to have, highly engaged people. And it's about bringing out the best in your people. And I just want to say, the Swedish organization, Transportation Authority here, has done an excellent job in embracing this and taking it in and working very actively with it. And here we see, as Henrik was going through the training, we're having a lot of fun, and they really have learned a lot in terms of how to work strategically with engagement. So I will hand it over to Henrik so he can, kind of take over from there. Henrik, you'll need to unmute yourself. And then, as you can see here, we have two sides of Henrik. We'll probably see the more serious side of Henrik right now, but he does have a fun side as well. So Henrik, it's all yours.
Yeah, you can go to the next, please. I will start with giving some information about what my business are, and then some of the points that we're taking from Karin's work and some actions from other works to implement in our unit. So my business area is maintenance. It's winter maintenance. It's summer maintenance. We do tarmac maintenance, bridge maintenance, and traffic signals and other ITS equipment maintenance. This winter was really tough. It was almost like the picture down the left. So we can do the next slide. There we have Sweden. My area is in the middle of Sweden. I have 15 project leaders, and I have 5 project engineers working for me. In Sweden, the maintenance, we don't do any maintenance ourselves. We have signed contractors to do it for us. So for my staff, it's more following up the contractors in what they're doing and the quality of what they are delivering. That's our main focus. The next slide, yes. We had a new organization at the Swedish Transportation Department here for the maintenance. It's a new organization from 2015. At that time, we were a new management team in this region in Sweden. Some new people, we didn't know each other. So then we sat down and did some focus on how and what should we focus and work with in the beginning. The result was we did an IPU analysis. We focus on celebrating our deliveries result from our maintenance work. We started working with efficient team. We appointed implementation leaders when we are doing changes or things in a new way in our organization, and a little bit about how we do follow-ups. We can take the next slide. We read 2 books. One of the books is Engage, that Karin spoke about, and we also read another book, and that is called Surrounded by Idiots. The IPU analysis is the management group. We were 7 people. We had to answer some questions. And the result from that question said what type of person you are. If you're a green or a blue or a red or a yellow type of person. And you see if you're a red person, you're a more driven person, or you're a green person, you're more of a supporting, or blue, more of detail, focus on details. So then we knew the management team, what colors we are, and the book Surrounded by Idiots gives you examples and what to think when we communicate between these different colors. It could be troubling when a red person will talk to a green person, but if you think of some things that you know how you react, and then this will be much easier. And it was also good to know that a good group needs to have people from all different colors to work well. Next one. The culture in the maintenance department in Sweden, that we didn't celebrate our result that much. Normally when we build new roads or we build a new tunnel or a new bridge, then we celebrate. But when we do maintenance work, we never celebrate. So it's not often shown or seen inside the organization and outside also for the public. But this is one of the points that we have been working with to show off more what the maintenance work is. And internally, we celebrate this with a cake. And we externally do this type of events also to show off the maintenance work that we do. The next slide. In our management group, we pointed out tasks that we need to work with, and to have progress in that, we selected efficient team. We put efficient team for each task. The team could be maybe 2 or 3 persons to focus on that task and delivers a result back to the management team, instead of everyone should do it or you are solving a problem alone. So efficiency team was a good way to handle the topics that we wanted to focus on. And we also took a decision that we need to have an implementation leader. This could be for small things or it could be for bigger things also. This year, the whole maintenance department is putting on a new process in how we work with maintenance. And for this, we appointed an implementation leader for our unit. The implementation leader will have a little more information, a little more responsibility, and for the implementation leader, we also assign some super users. So when this if it's a new system or it's a new way of working, routines, the implementation leader will help my people on the ground to make sure that we follow and that we understand the new system or the new things that we should work with. Often you focus on building up a system or making a new system, but a little small time is put into the implementation. So this is a big focus for us this year. Yes, next one. And the last slide is the trust. Also the culture, the historical aspect in maintenance, in our maintenance department, that when we follow up if we have done this tasks or not, the people back in the time maybe wasn't that honest if we have done everything that we should have done. they were afraid that it will be bad words or they will be pointed out in a bad way. And then you don't get to see how you are doing in a fair way. But last, I think, 2 years, when we do follow up on how we implement things, we can be honest in how far we have come, and if we haven't come all the way, when we focus on what can we do from here to implement this in a better way and to reach all the way, but maybe it will take some longer time than we thought in the beginning. But this will help us to become better and focus on what do we need to do now and forward to implement this new system or new way of work. Yeah.
So there's our presentation. Happy to take questions if anyone has any.
So if you have a microphone, go ahead and speak up. If you don't, go ahead and text them in, and Tiffany will read them out. I actually have a first question, and Heinrich and Karen Heinrich, appreciate the presentation. Heinrich, you're in the middle of the country there, part of the Swedish Transportation Authority. Has there been interest from other parts of the authority of using something similar to what you've been using?
Well, yes, there has been. When we started this work at 2015, we took the lead, you can say, in doing the IPU analysis and some other things also, and some other section or areas has followed us in that sense. So they have done the similar work that we did from the beginning.
And appreciate that. Just a quick follow-up. Are they getting similar successes also?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I hope so, but I'm not sure. I haven't heard about that. So I'm not sure, but I hope so.
All right. Thank you, Henrik.
Hi, this question is for both Karen and Henrik. So when we looked at the IPU analysis, and you had mentioned something about the different personality types, and there were some colors associated, red, green, etc. Which combination of the two colors posed the biggest challenge? And what kind of guidance or advice was given to the parties that were involved in those colors, in the demarcation of those colors? How was some of the challenge? How did you get beyond the challenge and make people work in these teams better?
Well, I think I can give you some answers. Well, we can maybe put the slides on where we have the colors. Some problems in a group, if you are not aware of this, a driven person and maybe a blue person can maybe not get that along that well, because a driven person wants to move forward. Then when a blue person wants to, maybe we should wait, is everything correct? We need to check this again. And then the red person wants, no, this is we have in a group. The book gives you some ideas how to handle this type of situations. I think for a group to work at the best, you need to have all the colors. So I don't have the best two colors to work at the best, but
if
we
I
have
can...
it. Yeah, you can go, Karin.
No, I just wanted to jump in. When you learn the neuroscience of conversations and trust, it helps to transcend some of this so that you can understand the impact you have with the conversations and how you actually say things to people. So kind of the two are very complementary to each other, because if you're aware of, if you've done this type of work and you have the different colors, you're aware of that type of person or that personality. but then also learning how is it best to approach those people, either if you know that or if you don't, but knowing the neuroscience actually helps to increase the levels of trust because you have better conversations. And actually, one of the things when it comes to working with culture is that everything happens through conversations. So if you can have high quality conversations that are built on trust, then you're really able to build that foundation to move things forward as you want.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. And there's a follow-on question to that. You mentioned something about conversations. So does the core work that supports this effort in getting people together, is that based on like neurolinguistics, or is this like a separate new, kind of outgrowth of some of the past work that was done in neurolinguistics?
So I'll mention that part of the body of work that I've worked with and I'm certified in myself is called conversational intelligence. So if you are all familiar with EIQ, which is emotional intelligence, this is kind of the next step to that. And the person who's the founder for that, she's a mentor of mine and on our research board. She kind of takes all the latest research out there in neuroscience and has filtered it down into hands-on tools that she can teach, or that we can teach people that actually have a direct impact on them. And when you have this, it's like you have a toolbox of things that you can do to have better conversations.
Thank you.
Hey, Karen.
Great question.
And Heinrich, I'm just curious, what colors are you?
I'm very yellow.
Yeah, I'm pretty much yellow too. It's probably the way we get along, Henrik.
Yeah. Don't get that much work done. We need people to help us in the group also. Yeah.
Yeah, we're busy inspiring people out there.
Well, that's wonderful. Are there other questions right now for our friends from Sweden? All right, if not, and we'll have some time during open forum to ask any follow-up questions also. Let's forge forward. It's going to be, folks, I want to let you know, I'd be glad to arm wrestle anybody across the table on this, but I want to let you know I'm the most fortunate guy on the planet. I have reasonably good health. I have a wonderful wife, terrific family, and I work with the very best team you've ever seen. And that includes terrific, wonderful, intrepid interns. And I'm going to turn it over to Alex, who's one of our interns. He's going to engage some other folks on our team. He's going to talk about Lean here at CDOT, a daily perspective. So Alex, take it away.
Thanks, Gary. That was one heck of an introduction. I appreciate that. So we work with the Office of Process Improvement in CDOT under Gary. And, a lot of these presentations focus really heavily on the infrastructure and how to set up the strategy and the program level, that higher level of that lean kind of mindset. And I'm going to spend some time today talking about how we take that strategy and actually turn it into an executable action items, and then what the boots on the ground are doing, if you will. So that's kind of where I'm going to take this presentation. But first, I want to talk through just a little bit about our 3 peaks. These are CDOT's summits that we're hoping to climb. So Office of Process Improvement focuses heavily on people. So you'll notice that internal customer focus and develop leaders sounds very, very similar to that lean kind of thinking. And so that's where we can focus a lot of our efforts. Our mission statement for Lean at CDOT is everyone, every day, improving every process and every product to benefit every customer. What's not in there, and I'm sure y'all are aware, those customers are both internal and external, right? So not only are the traveling public that we're serving that we need to continue to improve every process and every product, but also the people that we work with every day are depending on us to continue to improve, innovate, and make everybody's lives easier and more productive. So a 30,000-foot view of what Lean looks like at CDOT. There's an idea submittal process. So not only can people submit ideas, we call it fix it. So things that they see in the workplace and they come up with a solution, they can submit that solution to this database. But they can also, on top of that, using that database, they can borrow ideas or suggest ideas that they might not be able themselves to implement or fix. So all three of those options are really key in that idea generation and an innovation generation process, because an improvement that gets introduced in the southwestern part of the state might just be as valuable or even more valuable in the northeastern part of the state. But how do we socialize all of those improvements in such a geographically dispersed workforce? And so that database is really important so that we can continue to socialize all of the new innovations and improvements that our employees across the state are implementing. We also do rodeos, which are kind of traveling shows. One of our other interns here in a few slides is going to talk more about their experience in that, so I'll leave that for Vivi. On top of that, committees, we have committees. So once those ideas get submitted to the database, we have specific committees in each of our regions in our state that those ideas come to. That committee vets that idea on whether or not it's a replicable or a feasible thing to implement to the business. Once that happens, then we obviously go to some level of recognition, and I'll get to that in a later stage as well. But as mentioned in Karen and Henrik's presentation, it's really important to recognize and reward and celebrate those small improvements along the way, and we take that very seriously as well. So that was the 30,000 view, but what does that look like in practice? So the next few slides are going to talk about some of the things that the interns here at CDOT are doing to help kind of implement that lean thinking and that lean ideology within CDOT. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Vivi to talk about her experience in rodeos, what those are, and how they help support our lean program. Vivi, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Vivi. Thank you for that introduction, Alex. So I've been here at CDOT for about 2 months as an intern, and since then I've already had the opportunity to go to 3 maintenance rodeos. Niles, who's sitting next to me right now, we're actually going to a 4th later this afternoon. So we've been really busy. So let's back up a minute and look at, so what actually is a rodeo? A rodeo is a competition where maintenance workers, they compete to see who can operate their big machines the most efficiently through an obstacle course. So some of these obstacles include, weaving through cones, backing into, parking spaces, completing small tasks. And a side note, I actually had the opportunity to compete in one of these, go through one of these courses, and let me tell you, it is not easy in a snowplow. So cool, that was a cool thing to do. So anyway, we targeted these events as a great opportunity for us to spread our Lean Everyday Ideas program to different regions in the state. So the first thing that we like to focus on there is something that Alex already touched on a little bit, was to really socialize some of these lean ideas that we've received from different regions around the state. We created 10 innovation flyers that highlight some of the coolest ideas that we've seen implemented. So, one of these ideas is actually a repurposed plow blade that was attached onto a sweeper called the Yoma blade. And this repurposed blade lasts up to like 10 times longer than the old blades were lasting. So just really cool ideas like that. One of our big goals at these rodeos is to get these ideas out, show people what others are doing in hopes that, they might implement the same ideas and make our CDOT a better overall dot. So let's see. Some of the other things that we do at these rodeos is we actually have regional innovations that maintenance workers in the region where we are, that they have created. We have them at the booth. And if you take a look at that photo up there, you can see Niles and I set up at one of our booths there. And having the innovations there, it really draws people in and allows them to see and engage with some of the cool ideas that have been submitted. And so a big part of these events that we go to is we really want to try and extend and connect with everyone at CDOT and engage them in this program. So a big part of that is really listening to, just having conversations, listening to what everyone has to say, getting feedback from surveys that we pass out to sort of just, gauge where we're at with everything. And then Also just spread awareness. You really run into a variety of knowledge levels based on what people really do know. And after having been to a lot of these events, we really find that having a meaningful one-on-one conversation is the best way to get people engaged and excited about these programs. So one example that I wanted to share was when I was in Region 2, we actually had a conversation with a storeroom manager. And throughout the course of that conversation, he highlighted what we saw as 10 lean everyday ideas that he'd implemented in his storeroom. And he really had no idea that these ideas were something that we wanted to hear, and we wanted him to submit so that they could be spread to other storerooms around the state. Because what he was doing there was making his work a lot more efficient, was saving a lot of time, and was just helping the overall process of what he was trying to do there. So some of those cool ideas that he had was reducing the storeroom pickup wait time by pulling merchandise the day before it was scheduled to be picked up. Another one was using magnetic strips for inventory shelves to make it easier to move inventory around. And a lot of what we see is, those ideas are simple, but it's the simple, small stuff that really has the biggest impact and can make the biggest changes. So those are some of the ideas that we like to target and just articulate to people that no matter how small something may seem, it can make a huge difference. And then just to finish up, for me, going to these rodeos has just been an amazing learning opportunity. I get to talk about lean with people on the ground, and sort of, as I mentioned, I'm still sort of new, so sort of weave my way through and figure out my way as I go, just really engaging with the people who are using a lot of what we practice here in their everyday work. So that's been my experience so far at these rodeos, and just spreading lean throughout the state. It's been great.
Awesome. Thanks, Vivi. I appreciate that. Next, I'm going to go ahead and move right down to the table. Vivi mentioned that Niles is sitting next to her. He's next on my guest speakers list. He's going to talk to us a little bit about those idea cards that you're seeing in the middle of the screen there. Talked about that a little bit on an earlier slide, but this is kind of that database of ideas. And Niles has been pretty integral to maintaining and updating a lot of those idea cards. So I'll let him share his experiences.
Well, I don't know about integral, but thanks for that introduction. Yeah, my name is Niles, and I've also been an intern here for about 2 months now. It's been a very interesting experience, but I'll talk about these idea cards. So the main thing with the Lean Everyday Ideas program is basically to develop this idea system to push these ideas out into CDOT as much as possible and spread them and get get those ideas spread around as much as possible. And originally, what we had started doing, this was a little bit before my time, but we were writing articles on a lot of innovations that were sent in through the system. And the problem with those articles is that there's a lot of information in them. They're very text heavy. It's a little bit difficult to find them sometimes. And I'm not exactly sure how the idea for the idea cards came along, because that was a little bit before my time. But I imagine that we had the question of how can we get info across quicker, easier, and in a more accessible and standardized way. And so the idea cards accomplish all of this because they're very essential for an idea system, and they're very visual pieces of information. That one at the bottom of the screen there, the T-post puller, is an idea that was, came out of Region 2, Southeast Colorado, and it was just developed by a maintenance worker at the time, and he just identified the challenge, and he came up with a good way to overcome that with a good solution. And we just took it and ran with it. And with these idea cards, we're able to condense all the information that they send in with their ideas and their innovations into just like a couple sentences, and paired with a couple of pictures, along with links back to some Google Drive folders that really expand upon all that information, like how can you borrow this idea, where can you order it, and really just helping people replicate these ideas as much as possible. And the idea cards are really an all-in-one, easy to find place. They're just on the database where all the idea cards are. So, you don't have to go from like one page to the next on the CDOT website to find new innovations or articles. All the idea cards are in one centralized place. Like I said, it allows for lots of information to be put across easily. But we're leaning this process every day as well. Like, we're trying to improve it as much as possible, just so that way, if someone's a little bit more of a visual learner, or if they're a different kind of learner, then we can best approach them. So with some of these new idea cards that we're putting out, we're adding updates to them. We're putting out new, different versions of the idea cards out. So that one that you see on the screen there, the T-post puller, is actually a blast from the past idea card. It actually had an article written about it quite some time ago. And with that little link at the bottom left-hand corner, you're able to go right back to that article and get a lot more of that same information. But we just didn't want this idea to be just sitting on our website as an article and not being spread around. So we developed these blasts from the past or idea cards, to really ship out. We're also coming out very soon. I don't know exactly when the time frame will be for this, but we're trying to create some video cards. So we're still working on the name for them, but they will be basically an idea card, but instead of the little articles section where they can link back to an article, it'll link back to a video. So if someone needs a better demonstration of what a T-post puller does or something like that, they can just go to that video and watch it, making it just like a little bit simpler for everybody. Vivi touched on the innovation information flyers, which came from the idea cards. We were thinking, how can we get this information across as easy as possible at these maintenance rodeos? So we condensed the information from the idea cards yet again to little half sheets, pieces of paper, just so we can get them across and hand them out a little bit more. And like I said, we're leaning this process every day. Sometimes it can be a little detailed, just like adding a little publication date in the bottom left-hand corner, or just hyperlinking innovators' names to their email addresses so people can get in contact with them quicker. But it's just little updates like that every day that really make this practice a little bit better and flow a little bit better. And this has also been a great learning opportunity for us as interns. Not only do we get to see other sides of CDOT and learn a little bit more about the maintenance side of things, or the administrative side of things, or just even innovations going on elsewhere in CDOT, we get to practice lean every day by leaning up these cards and shipping them out into the world, which is a terrific learning opportunity. And yeah, we're hoping to continue using idea cards and improving upon them every day.
Awesome. Thanks, Niles. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a great walkthrough of our idea cards. That's something that I haven't had a whole lot of time in, so I always appreciate the level setting there too. Appreciate that. Moving right along the way, we have improvement projects. So as part of our internship program, along with all of the other things that we're doing, we're also asked to take a look at the work that we're doing within CDOT and actually implement an improvement project and practice that lean methodology on a process that we work in. So I'll start with anything from the seemingly small but very impactful onboarding process for new interns. So we're taking kind of a meta look at how we are onboarding our own team and continuing to improve that process as well. An intern took that upon him or herself to improve that process, all the way up to huge projects like our new HQ building. One of our interns who just recently graduated to bigger and better things, she worked with our construction contractors for our new HQ building and practice using lean with them in their construction practices. So we have not only are we using lean within CDOT, but we're also using lean on projects to improve CDOT. But wait, there's more. On top of that, we also have articles, customer outreach, and I mentioned recognition. So Niles touched on the article, so I'll touch on that very lightly. The spotlight on innovation is probably the one piece that we haven't talked about already, but those really key improvements of the week or improvements of the month that we really want to highlight that we think will be a really great impact to the rest of the state. We make sure that we bring those to the forefront and ensure that the right people are made aware of the right improvements. And so that's kind of that intent behind the spotlight on innovation. For customer outreach, I'm going to continue with my guest speaker list and introduce Laura James. Laura Parsons? James. She just recently got married, so I'm still getting used to her last name. But she's had the wonderful opportunity to actually present a lot of our work and the lean methodology to external conferences and presentations that way. So I'll go ahead and turn things over to Laura and let her talk about her experience.
Thank you, Alex. As Alex said, I've had quite a bit of time here at CDOT. What's been interesting is more or less like a boomerang. I worked here once, went away, and then came right back. So here for round two. But that's really provided an excellent opportunity in terms of really being able to see the long-term effect of the respect for people emphasis of lean at CDOT. That's always been very apparent to me, and it's been especially apparent the second time back. I've been fortunate enough actually to do a lot of external outreach with Gary, as well as our change management lead, Michelle Moy, who I know is also listening today. In 2017, actually, I believe we presented for the American Society for Quality, as well as the Project Management Institute, which we have a photo of in the bottom left-hand corner. And that was really our chance to facilitate a lean process workflow, which we do quite often, and often with internal groups as well as external groups, which is mapping out a process flowchart of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I know you think that's so simple, but we make it extremely and unnecessarily complicated so that the process is way too long. And eventually you're able just to put the peanut butter on yourself, but that takes about 5 revisions to get to. And additionally, we were able to do even a broader outreach to the Project Management Institute about 2 months ago in Denver. We were able to discuss how change management and lean is able to integrate with project management, and that's been extremely beneficial to spread the good work of CDOT, not only with internal employees, but also really getting the message out that government, and not just within the US, but internationally, is really embracing this lean culture and trying to be responsible with taxpayers' money and doing things in the most efficient way possible. And very recently, we were able to, myself and our lean innovation lead, Geneva Hooten, who's here with us as well, were able to complete the Colorado Talent Challenge, which is this really interesting process where Colorado state government has been encouraging their employees to take lean process improvement training and then go back and implement it within their workspace. But not only that, go and act as fresh eyes. I know that all of us get really involved in our own projects, and often it's beneficial to have somebody else come in and question, well, why do you do that? Can you do something differently? So this training more or less prepares you to be able to go in and act as that fresh eyes with a lean perspective and go in and help that process along. We also have been reaching out to our internal business partners, so other offices within CDOT, just really helping them take on that lean approach, such as brainwriting, which is an excellent tool if anyone's heard of it. It just allows you to write down all of your ideas and build on others. It's been very valuable in terms of not only doing external discussions for how lean can improve government and private industries, but also helping support our own staff, which I think just comes back to that respect for people. And in light of time, I want to pass it back over to Alex. I know we have several questions, and I don't want to hoard time here.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, that was great. Those presentations are an excellent outreach just to kind of socialize and share the good news of lean. And we appreciate all that Laura does to present all across the country. I know Niles mentioned recognition already, so I'll kind of touch on that lightly and move forward. But I do want to highlight those pinning packages. So everybody who either submitted an idea, borrowed an idea, or implemented an idea, we get a pinning package. And so those get those pinning packages out to the people who submitted or borrowed that idea. And so their managers are made aware. It's as formal as the individual who submitted that idea wants it to be, but it is a very intentional. They get a pin that they can include, that they can wear, and a certificate. And so it's a looked forward to, and a certificate worth that recognition amongst their peers, a sort of competition, if you will, to get that recognition from their team and from CDOT. And that's, I think, we've seen a lot of success in those pinning packages, and people have come running for pinning packaging and wondering why we haven't gotten to them sooner. So that pinning packages is also keeping us accountable to make sure that we're continuing to stay on top of that database and then respecting for people like Vivi said. So lean as a discipline. So all the things that we said are things that we are doing to output for our internal customers, right? But it's also a key component of lean is that ability to take that process and do it to yourself, right? That kind of self-discipline, continuous improvement on your own personal growth as well. And so we practice that on our team as well. You'll see a visual Kanban board there. We practice a lot of visual management, both physically, and we use Trello to organize the work that we're doing. There's an image there in the middle, looks very similar to how we're sitting right now, but that's actually for a different community of practice that we host for change management. And so we continue to collaborate and share experiences with a vast array of organizations, departments from a diversity of backgrounds and industries, continuing to learn and grow in that way. In the bottom right, you'll see our project lead for a major project, Road X, the major multi-year initiative that CDOT is going through, and he took the time, along with Amy Ford, who's the woman in the blonde there towards the left. She's our Director of Advanced Mobility, and they took the time out of their incredibly busy schedules to meet with all of the interns and kind of highlight the project, how millennials and the younger workforce can contribute to the success of that project. And so it's not just lean is not just an intern mindset, but it's a mindset that's been embraced across the organization, because to utilize all of everybody's talent in the most creative and useful way is going to create the best solution for us. So we really appreciate that executive sponsorship for us as well. Brainwave is a kind of an intern-created meeting that we do every so often, and those are just kind of self-driven, self-guided learnings that we want to ensure that we're having our own personal and professional growth and meeting the needs that we want to experience during our time in this internship. And so everything from learning a crash course on how to do Microsoft Project, to presentation skills, to crash courses on what lean is and how to implement it in government organizations. Those are entirely led, facilitated, and organized by interns for interns to kind of help that, again, that self-improvement, continuous journey of growth. I didn't include pictures there, but there are two sentences. The sit-withs I personally really, really value. Gary has been gracious and kind enough to allow us the opportunity to sit with other directors, individuals, employees across CDOT to learn what they're doing, kind of go to the Gemba, if you will, and using that lean speak. What does their daily work look like? How can we help them see what they're doing? Not only does that help with the lean stuff, but it also kind of gives a little insight into something that we may or may not be interested in doing in the future. And so I really appreciate that avenue and that vehicle for learning that's provided to us. And then temporary position, I saved that one for the end because that's it seems a little counterintuitive that the fact that we have a deadline for our internship or our stay here actually improves that lean mindset. But knowing that we have a limited time here, and then that continual turnover of employees actually generates new ideas and encourages that revising and revisiting a lot of our processes to ensure that they're actually working for us. So that also demonstrates that lean mindset at a kind of more meta level. That being said, we have absolutely had some challenges, and so continuity, like I just said, with that turnover, there is some challenges on the flip side of that, right? So in one of our interns, one of their improvement projects was to also create an intern offboarding process. So now we don't only have an onboarding process, but we have a formal offboarding process as well. Again, completely generated by one of our interns to help hand off some projects that may or may not have gotten completed, pass off some institutional or guru knowledge to make sure that the next team of interns can take what they're doing and continue on that good work. On top of that, I know everybody's schedules are incredibly busy. But all of our schedules are unique in that we all have a different schedule throughout the week. We're not all here during the same time. So communication is incredibly key for us to continue to stay on top of our own work, but also to be able to be available for everybody else as well. So as an example, I only work Monday through Wednesday, and I know Laura's not there for half of the week on the other side of things. So me and her have to be in pretty good communication just to make sure that we're staying on top of the things that we've been asked to do. So those are some challenges, but we've also created some pretty unique and creative solutions to those. So that's a little bit about us and what we're doing as interns here at CDOT. Here are all of our contact information. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. As you can tell, we love to talk about us. And so if you have any questions, we'd be happy to field those for you.
All right, let's open it up. Please remember to unmute yourself. If we've got any questions coming in through the chat pane, Tiffany will read those off. Any questions from folks for Alex or our other interns here?
What's the average length for interns?
So a great question. Here at CDOT, we are limited how long we can keep an intern. There are state rules around that. None of our interns stay more than a calendar year, and that would be at somewhat of a part-time situation. I'm not sure I've ever done an average, but and Geneva, I look at you also. Probably around 7 to 8 months, roughly.
Seems about right. Okay. Next question. Where are interns primarily coming from? Any specific college?
Gosh, and you know, around the table, we've got Colorado State University represented. We have University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. We've got University of Denver. We've got Colorado College, which is based in Colorado Springs. Tiffany,
Metro.
you were at Colorado State? No.
Colorado State.
Colorado State. We've had folks from Colorado School of Mines, University of Colorado in Boulder, University of Colorado in Denver. We actually get folks from a lot of different universities, so it's not a specific one that predominates. I suppose if we did a look across the several dozen interns we've had, probably the largest number, but by no means the majority, would probably be from the two universities that are right downtown with us here, University of Colorado at Denver and Metro State University of Denver. But gosh, folks from across Colorado, and actually we do occasionally get folks from other universities. One of the improvements that was highlighted, the offboarding process, was by Claire Anderson. Claire was actually University of Minnesota at Duluth, I believe. So we get folks from a lot of different places. Great question, though. Appreciate that. Any others coming in from the chat pane, Tiffany?
Let's see. Yes, this one is intern offboarding is a great idea. Can you share a sample worksheet?
We could. I'll step in there. So that's actually available online at the external CDOT site. If you go to Lean Everyday Ideas, you can go to that idea card and click through and find all of those extra. We have links to different examples. So maybe we can post that idea card in the TLF forum.
We'll definitely do that. And again, that external website is codot.gov. I don't know why we didn't get cdot.gov, but we did in codot.gov. If you search for Lean, you'll come across the Lean Everyday Ideas cards pretty quickly. Tiffany, anything else coming in from the?
No, I don't have any more questions.
Okay, and anybody want to unmute themselves? Have questions for our crew here? Anything else? All right. Appreciate that. Again, our folks will be around for the open forum session. There's one other short session between us and between now and that session. And actually, before we start this, we at CDOT, we have a tradition of providing great leaders with coins. I'm going to put this in front of Tiffany's camera. We call them leader traveling coins. We try to recognize genuine leadership. And he's, for lean leadership, that's continuous improvement and respect for people. You heard from 4 of our interns. We have a 5th intern here, Tiffany, who's been reading our questions. 4 of those 5 interns have been here 2 months or less. One of our interns has been providing great leadership for those folks, and that's Laura James. I want to provide Leader Traveling Coin 2157. Well, I can't do 2157 to Laura James for her tremendous leadership.
Yay! Thank you.
And now we'll go on. We'll open forum is about 5 minutes away. You guys know that I love quotes. Significant problems we face cannot be solved with the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. So that's community to practice. And again, this is a formal definition. I do love what John Maxwell says. The wisest person learns from others' successes. So that's what a community of practice is. Those people that are friends or a network that have the same situation who want to learn from each other. And when I came onto this job at CDOT in late 2011, I wanted to learn from other government agencies. I've been doing something related to continuous improvement most of my life, and I know that government's different. So I did what most folks do. I did a Google search, and I found some people that had lean in their title. I remember the first one-on-one conversation I had was with Tom Bauman, who's now retired, the lean leader in Minnesota. The current lean leader is Joe Roush. And he said, and he had terrific stuff, pointing me to their Department of Transportation, had a great conversation with Dave Bahosky. Dave said, oh gosh, talk to the people in Iowa. The folks in Iowa were wonderful. Said, talk to the folks in Washington State, also wonderful. And somehow in June 2012, we got 3 states together on the same teleconference, just to share experiences. The folks that were on the teleconference from Tennessee, I think are all retired. Patsy Mims, Emily Cassano, Greg Spradley. We had Lita Clavins and Sam McKeeman from the state of Maine, both have also retired. Diana Horton here at CDOT, who's at another company now. Gloria Heiseiler, who's retired, and myself. And we found that we were learning from each other. We had the same issues, but we were farther along on solving certain issues. And we thought, gosh, that's great. Let's get together again. And somebody around the table, and I definitely don't remember who, said, let's invite some other states. And so we did. We invited Arizona, and Rob Woods, and Rob might be on the line today, joined us from Arizona. We invited Iowa. We invited our friends in Minnesota. I don't know why we didn't invite them the first time, but Tom Bauman brought along some of his folks from the DOT there. And guess what? We had a terrific time sharing too. I think made some progress learning from each other. So we decided we'd do it again in December 2012 and included more states. And that's the way the Transportation Lean Forum started. We didn't call it that back then. We actually had a much longer name, which is almost impossible to remember. An intern around the table around that same time said, let's shorten that, which was terrific. And we made some progress in that time. This is actually as of October 18th, 2016. We were actually, this is the first time that we actually hosted the session someplace else. This was, we hosted it. Actually, all the behind the scenes production was done here in Colorado, but we hosted it at the Washington State Lean Transformation Conference. We had at the time approximately 18 states. We also had England and Netherlands by that time. We're now about 30 states, folks, 4 different provinces. Our Swedish friends have joined us along with folks from the Netherlands and England. Again, all learning from each other. The key theme across all these teleconferences is learning from each other. And we also said, if we get together every other month, that's great. What about in between? So we have the Lean Interchange Network that is available. It has all the postings from all the presentations in the past, a lot of other information that people have shared, and an opportunity to use Chatboard to ask each other questions across the country, across the continent, across the world, to help each other, to help learn from our successes. because great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. And it's wonderful with our technological advances, that team can include people from across the world now. All right. We may be a little bit premature saying when the next forum is, but it's in October. This is actually our place for our open forum session part of Transportation Lean Forum. This is a chance for you to ask questions, make comments, and by the way, brag about your successes. Your successes in tackling something might be somebody else's current issue. So let's open up the chat pane. If you don't have a microphone, Tiffany will read off your questions or your comments. Otherwise, unmute yourself, and we've got about 25 minutes. We can chat back and forth. So who's first?
Hey, Gary.
Hi,
Gary. This is Harsh. Yes, Gary. So Gary, I just wanted to share some success here at TxDOT, and also personally thank you for the support that you offered a few years back by having me over at CDOT and kind of sort of looking over the system that you had in place and learning from you guys as to how to maybe go about doing that here at Texas Department of Transportation. So the success has been that we actually now have a program for process improvement that is, it has its own brand that was agreed upon by the leaders, and we've coined it as Business Process Improvement (BPI). And under the auspices of BPI, the first activity that has kind of been launched is a pilot across 6 districts. So as time goes by and, we come to October and then the next session, hopefully I'll have some success stories from these pilots that are going on across 6 districts right now. And actually, we, based on some demand and need, we added 2 more districts to that. So hopefully I'll be sharing some of the success stories, but I need to thank you at this occasion that, wouldn't have been, you were part of that process and part of that journey for us. So thank you very much.
Harsh, you're very kind. I appreciate that. When I said I'm the most fortunate person in the world, I forgot to mention I have terrific friends and people I've met across the world, and you're definitely among them. So thank you, Harsh.
Thank you, sir.
All right, the lines are open. What's our next topic, question, issue, success to brag on?
Gary, this is Michelle. How are you guys today?
Hi, Michelle. Good.
Good. I just posted in the chat pane too, but I thought we should mention our public sector change management group, similar to the TLF, but diving deep into change management. And if anybody wants an invite, they are more than welcome to let us know.
That's great. Appreciate that, Michelle. The people side of change is important for making improvement happen. So appreciate that. So who's next? Issues, questions, comments? And I believe we've still got our friends from Sweden on board still, Karen and Henrik, and I'm sure they'd be glad to answer additional questions also.
Hey, Gary, it's Nick Nixon from British Columbia. Can you hear me okay?
Just a little bit louder, Nick. I could try it again.
Well, let me see here. All right, microphone off. Is that any better?
That's better, yeah. Hi, Nick.
Great, hi. Just echoing a little bit about what Hart said a bit ago, about a year, actually a little bit more than that now, about 20 of you folks in this forum answered a call that we did here in British Columbia to get information on your maintenance contractors, how your winter maintenance works, your summer maintenance works, lessons learned from procurement, your schedule of procurement and all of that. And that was, I just wanted to take a second to a little bit of a brag, but more of a thank you. Our 10-year +4 potential contracts or RFPs actually were answered for the first of our 26 service areas 2 months ago, and we've closed our first bids as of 2 days ago, and a press release went out, and a lot of the stuff in there is based off of the lessons learned, the mountains, literally thousands of pages of information and fantastic data that all of you sent. So that for us, this forum just made such a huge difference for us to get a better market sounding and understanding of what else people are doing, not just in my country, but in the United States, as well as a couple countries in Europe as well. So big thank you to everybody. And it's been a 3-year project, and there's a 1.5 years more to go, but a lot of that success is because of you folks. So thank you so much for all your work and speaking to all of us for hours on end, and what you guys all did.
Nick, that's fabulous to hear that was helpful to you guys in British Columbia. That's terrific. And again, thank you to, let me echo Nick's thoughts. Thank you to everybody on the forum. If you read the news tends, unfortunately, tends to be the sensational and often somewhat depressing. I tend to think it's news because that's so unusual. I believe that people want to help each other, and communities of practice here is the day-to-day kind of stuff, as Nick was pointing out, that wonderful support that we can provide to each other to help each other make progress. So again, let me echo Nick's thoughts. Thank you to everybody on the forum for reaching out to Nick and all the other times that we've had that happen. Nick, terrific stuff. If you're ever in Colorado, come down and see us.
You got it, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, who's next?
Gary, it's Karen. I just thought I'd jump in here and say I'm very impressed being a bit of an outsider to see what you've done with this group. And, people learn from each other. And when you have a group that is sharing and willing to share their successes and even their challenges and how they can overcome, it's what I like to refer to as collective learning, where everybody lifts everybody up. And it's great to see this in action in this forum and across so many different states and even countries. I think it's great. So congratulations for, all the hard work that I know you're putting into this. You're doing a great job.
Well, thanks, Karen. I appreciate that. What mentally comes to mind is a picture of a Beatles album and the song I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends. I think that's a subtitle for Communities of Practice. And thank you for those kind thoughts, Karen. All right, who's next? What's your issue, question, success to brag about? Who's next? And if you don't have a microphone, send them in to Tiffany and we'll read them off.
Hello, Gary. This is Andrew Fuller from the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we heard that you're from the Port Authority of New York. A little bit fuzzy. Could you try again?
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, it sure is. So yeah, please proceed.
Okay, I just want to introduce myself and also to let you all know that the Port Authority has developed a lean program. We began in February. Put about 6 projects through the Kaizen process. And we're currently in the process of developing a training program or a belt certification program. We're interested in the experience that other agencies have had in going through that process, and particularly interested in ways that we can engage and keep engaged with the operations and maintenance folks. So it's particularly interested in Heinrich's presentation. And my contact information is on the Lean Forum. As we start developing ideas, we're going to post them there, and we may post questions. And I look forward to interacting with the group and getting feedback from you and learning from your experiences.
Well, that's fabulous. We look forward to your posts. Certainly encourage anybody online who wants to, to comment now or perhaps comment later to help along the Port Authority of New York in their efforts. Great to hear about starting the successes, and I will ask a first question back to you. Would you be interested perhaps presenting later this year or in early 2019 regarding some of your experiences there at the Port Authority?
I would love to.
All right, that's great. We're going to put you on the list, and we'll have one of our interns reach out. By the way, the forums are produced by interns. Alex is the producer this time, and we take turns around the table. So we'll be reaching out to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Other thoughts, questions, successes to brag on around the virtual table here?
Yes. Hey, Gary, this is Ty Woodson with New York State Lean. Actually, Andrew beat me to it because I was going to, share. We're going into our 5th year with New York State, and we've been getting a lot of new agencies joining us. So I'm glad that to have Andrew and his team just fired up, just doing some great things down at the Port Authority, and so I'm glad that we were able to connect them with this forum, which we found very, very beneficial. I love when we get to participate and hear not just about the lean efforts, but I like how you guys also incorporate, some of the change management piece, and that's something that we're spending a lot of time right now working with the agencies on. Okay, you guys know how to do lean, but how can we make it stick? How can we deal with the people aspect and managing the change? So today's session was really, really good.
Well, we appreciate the kind comments, and right back at you. Boy, 5 years of sustained success. That is terrific to hear about from the Empire State. A leader in the nation. So, right back at you. Thanks for everything that you're doing there in New York.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, the lines are still open. More thoughts, questions, comments, successes to share? All right, Tiffany, anything coming in from the chat pane?
Nope.
All right. So maybe this is a good time to close it out. I think Alex is going to talk just a little bit here about the next session.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I just want to thank everyone for attending. Special thanks to Karen and Henrik for presenting with us today, taking time out of their crazy busy schedules to provide some value add to everybody in attendance today. So thank you, and thanks for my team for helping me put this presentation together as well. So we're these transportation lean forums. They do reoccur every so often. So we're trying to do them on a bi-monthly basis. The date hasn't been hammered down yet, but you can look for another TLF coming through sometime in October.
And if you're interested in presenting, I encourage you to do so. Let me know, or just send something to us through the chat pane or through the Lean Interchange website. Let us know if you're interested. In October, again, we go every other month, so it'd be December and February, the next few ones after that. Would love to. Actually, October is a little bit down the line. When do we have one in August too?
I'm playing.
Oh, yeah, so we are going to have an
right.
August one, and I think we already have speakers for that. No, we don't have speakers. Okay, so Vivi's going to be planning on that. So August and October, we don't have dates hammered down yet. So we'd love to hear from you. All right, that's great. Again, I want to thank Alex for pulling this together, the entire team here, Karen and Henrik from Sweden, and everybody participating, supporting each other, echoing some of the thoughts, including Nick's thoughts about all the support we're providing each other across the world. Let's continue to forge forward and make progress to help our customers in transportation agencies across the world. Thanks, folks. Take care.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks.